Seattle, March 1994. Kurt Cobain was just trying to buy cigarettes when the kid recognized him outside the corner store on Capitol Hill. What happened in the next 11 minutes would be one of the last times Kurt tried to explain himself to anyone. It was 2:47 in the afternoon. Kurt had his hood up, sunglasses on despite the gray sky, trying to be invisible. He'd walked 3 blocks from his house because he needed air. The cigarettes were just an excuse. He was lighting his first smoke when he heard the voice. "SELLOUT." Kurt turned slowly. The kid couldn't have been more than 19. Flannel shirt, ripped jeans, combat boots, hair dyed black, a younger version of what Kurt used to be. The kid's eyes were filled with betrayal and rage. "You talking to me?" Kurt asked quietly. "Yeah, you sold out. You became everything you said you hated. You're a corporate puppet now." Kurt took a drag, studying the kid. People were starting to notice. But here's what nobody talks about. Kurt didn't feel angry. He felt tired. "You don't know anything about me," Kurt said calmly. "I know enough." The kid's hands were shaking. "I know you signed to a major label. I know you're on MTV every 5 minutes. I know you sold 10 million copies. You betrayed everything underground music stands for. Is that what you think happened?" "That's what I know happened." The kid's voice cracked. "You were supposed to be different. You were supposed to stay pure. Instead, you took the money and ran." A small crowd was forming. Kurt could feel their eyes on him, waiting to see how he'd react. What happened next surprised everyone. "You want to know what really happened?" Kurt asked softly. "Because I'll tell you. But you have to actually listen." The kid hesitated. "Fine. Tell me how you justify it." Kurt gestured to the curb. "Sit down." "What?" "Sit down. I'm not having this conversation like we're about to fight. If you actually want to understand, sit down." The kid looked around, not expecting this, but after a moment, he sat. Kurt sat next to him. "What's your name?" "Derek." "You in a band?" "Yeah. Basement shows. DIY. We keep it real." Kurt smiled sadly. "I was you. Same beliefs, same anger. You know what I thought when bands signed to major labels? I thought they were traitors. I swore I'd never do it." "So what changed? Money?" Kurt shook his head. "We recorded Bleach for $606, played shows for 20 people, slept on floors, ate 1 meal a day, and I loved it. Because we were making music that mattered and nobody was telling us what to do." "Then what happened?" "People started caring. Regular kids who heard our music and felt something. We'd play shows and 500 people would show up, then 1,000. And Sub Pop didn't have infrastructure to press enough records." "So you went major label," Derek said, still accusatory. "Not right away. First I had to choose. Stay on Sub Pop, keep underground credibility, reach maybe 100,000 people. Or sign bigger and potentially reach millions. What's more important, staying pure or getting the message out?" "The message is meaningless if you compromise," Derek shot back. "Is it?" Kurt turned to look at him. "You know what Nevermind is about? Alienation, disconnection, feeling like you don't belong. That message doesn't change because a major label distributes it. The songs are the same, the feelings are the same. Only difference is how many people hear it. But you're part of the system now. You're making money for the same corporations that destroy real music. You think I don't know that?" Kurt's voice rose slightly. "You think I'm not aware of the contradiction every single day? You think it doesn't eat at me that I'm on the same label as Michael Jackson? Then why do it?" "Because..." Kurt paused. "Because I got a letter last month from a kid in Kansas. 15 years old. Planning to kill himself. Felt completely alone. Then he heard Smells Like Teen Spirit on the radio. First time in his life he felt like someone understood him. He's still alive because that song reached him. One kid doesn't justify..." "It's not one kid. Thousands of them. Kids in small towns who would never find Sub Pop, who would never hear about underground venues. But they've got a radio. They've got MTV. And now they're hearing music that tells them they're not alone." Derek was quiet for a moment. You could have stayed underground and been a hero to people who matter. People who matter. Kurt looked at him with disappointment. You think that kid in Kansas doesn't matter because he's not cool enough? Not underground enough? His pain is less valid because he lives in the suburbs? That's not what I meant. That's exactly what you meant. Gatekeeping is the opposite of punk. Deciding who's worthy of the message, that's exactly the elitism punk was supposed to destroy. So there's no such thing as selling out. It's more complicated. Selling out is changing your message to appeal to people, watering down what you believe to make it marketable. Did I do that? Derek hesitated. Nevermind is more polished than Bleach. It's better produced. The songs aren't different. The anger isn't different. We just recorded it so people could actually hear it clearly. Is that selling out? Making sure people understand what you're saying? But you're rich now. You live in a nice house. And it makes me miserable. Kurt's voice went quiet. You think money fixes anything? I can't walk down the street without people screaming at me for betraying them. Can't go to a restaurant. Can't take my daughter to a park without photographers. Can't trust anyone new. Then why not quit? Walk away. Because the music still matters. The message still matters. As long as there are kids who need to hear they're not alone, I have a responsibility to keep making it and making sure it reaches them. They sat in silence. The crowd was dispersing, realizing there wasn't going to be a fight. Derek stared at the ground. You know what's funny? Kurt said. You called me a sellout for signing to Geffen. But you know who you sound like right now? My dad. Telling me I'm doing everything wrong. Telling me I should be someone different. Derek looked up sharply. I'm nothing like your dad. Aren't you? You're judging me based on your idea of what I should be instead of understanding what I actually am. That's exactly what parents do, what the system does, and you think you're being punk rock. I just thought you were different. I thought you were someone I could believe in. Kurt's eyes filled with exhaustion and compassion. I'm just a person. I'm not your hero. I'm not your savior. I'm just someone trying to make music that means something while surviving in a world that wants to destroy anything real. But you made it. You succeeded. You won. Did I? I can't sleep. Can't eat. I'm in constant pain. Can't trust anyone. I feel more alone now than when I was sleeping in my car. Is that winning? Derek didn't answer. You want to know what I've learned? Purity is a luxury. It's easy to stay underground when nobody's listening. Easy to keep your hands clean when you're not actually doing anything. But the moment you try to reach people, you have to compromise. You have to work with the system. And every compromise hurts. So how do you live with it? Barely. Kurt's honesty was brutal. I wake up every day and try to figure out if what I'm doing still matters or if I've lost myself completely. Most days I don't know. Derek wiped his eyes. Kurt realized the kid was crying. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I thought you just didn't care anymore. I care too much. That's the problem. If I didn't care, this would be easy. I could just take the money and make whatever they told me. But I care. So it's torture. Derek stood up. What do I do? My band were so small, nobody cares. Should we try to go bigger? Kurt looked at him for a long moment. Make music that's true. Don't worry about staying underground or going mainstream. Just make music that's honest. If it reaches 10 people or 10 million, as long as it's real, you did something that matters. But what about the industry, the corporations? Use them if you can. Don't let them use you. That's the only rule. And if you can't tell the difference anymore, if you've lost yourself, get out. Your soul is worth more than success. Derek nodded, tears still running down his face. I'm sorry I called you a sellout. Don't be. Kurt pulled out his cigarettes, offered one to Derek. You were right to question it. You should question it. Just try to understand before you judge. Did you ever think it would be like this? When you started, I thought we'd play basement shows forever. Put out a few records that a few hundred people would care about. I never imagined this. Do you regret it? Kurt was quiet. Every single day. And never. Both at the same time. Derek laughed, a broken sound. That doesn't make sense. Nothing about this makes sense. That's the point. You think there's a right answer. There isn't. You just do the best you can and hope the music matters more than the machinery around it. They stood there, two musicians separated by fame, but connected by the same struggle. "Why did you stop to talk to me?" Derek asked. "You could have just walked away." "Because I remember being you. I remember being that angry. And I remember nobody taking time to explain. Everyone just told me I was wrong or right, but nobody explained what it actually feels like to navigate this. So I figured you deserve to know." "Thank you. Make good music. That's all that matters. Make music that's true and don't apologize for it." "Even if I sign to a major label someday?" "Even then. Just don't lose yourself in it. And if you do, have the courage to walk away." Kurt started to leave, then turned back. "Hey Derek, if your band ever needs someone to listen to your demo, call the radio station. Tell them Kurt said to pass it to me. I'll listen." Derek stared. "You mean that?" "I mean that. We're all in this together." Kurt walked away, leaving Derek standing on the sidewalk, no longer angry, but fundamentally changed. What happened in those 11 minutes wasn't just a conversation. It was Kurt Cobain trying one more time to explain the impossible position of being an artist who wanted to stay pure but needed to be heard. 3 people who witnessed the conversation later described it in interviews. They all said the same thing. They'd never seen anyone handle anger with such patience. They'd never heard anyone explain the contradictions of success with such brutal honesty. One witness, a woman who had stopped to watch, said she saw Kurt's hands shaking the entire time. "He was scared too," she said in an interview years later. Scared of being misunderstood. Scared that maybe the kid was right and he had lost himself. But he sat there anyway and tried to explain. Derek's band never made it big. They put out 2 albums on a small independent label, played regional shows across the Pacific Northwest, built a small but dedicated following. But Derek never called Kurt a sellout again. And whenever someone in the underground scene accused another band of compromising, of taking corporate money, of appearing on MTV, Derek would tell them about the day Kurt Cobain sat on a curb outside a bodega and explained that purity and impact are sometimes impossible to reconcile. That caring too much can be more painful than not caring at all. That sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit you don't have all the answers. Kurt Cobain died 32 days after that conversation. When Derek heard the news on the radio, he was in his car, driving to band practice. He had to pull over because he couldn't see through the tears. He sat there for an hour, remembering every word Kurt had said, not because he'd lost a hero, but because he'd lost one of the few people who understood that trying to change the world while staying true to yourself might actually be impossible. That the guilt of compromise can eat you alive even when the compromise saves lives. That fame doesn't fix the feeling of being fundamentally alone. The last thing Kurt told Derek that day, right before walking away for good, was something Derek never forgot, something he would repeat to younger musicians for the rest of his life. "The system wants you to either play by its rules or stay invisible," Kurt had said. "The trick is figuring out how to use it to amplify your voice without letting it change what you're saying. Most people can't do it. I'm not sure I did either. But trying is better than giving up. And if you give up, they win. Not because they beat you, but because one less voice of truth exists in the world." This is the true story of how Kurt Cobain turned an angry accusation into a lesson about the impossible compromises required to make art that matters in a world designed to destroy it.